Now we're going to be doing Boaz and Ruth. And I want to start from Ruth chapter 2, verses 20 to 23. So she told her mother-in-law, with whom she had worked, and said, "The man's name with whom I work today is Boaz." And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." Naomi also told her, "The man is a close relative of ours. He's a kinsman redeemer." And Ruth the Moabite said, "Besides, he said to me, 'You shall keep close by my young men until they have finished all my harvest.'" And Naomi said to Ruth her daughter-in-law, "It is good, my daughter, that you go out with his young women, lest in another field you be assaulted." So she kept close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and wheat harvests. And she lived with her mother-in-law. Now we're going to Ruth chapter 3. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were working with? See, he is winning barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore and anoint yourself, and put on a cloak and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." And she replied, "All that you say I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight the man was startled and turned over, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are my Redeemer." And he said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good. Let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning." So she lay at his feet until the morning, but arose before anyone could recognize another. And he said, "Let it not be known that the woman came down to the threshing floor." And he said, "Bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out." So she held it out, and he measured 6 measures of barley and put it on her. Then she went into the city, and when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "How did you fare? How did it go, my daughter?" Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, "These 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, 'You must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law.'" She replied, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out, for the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today." Naomi, after hearing that it was Boaz who was so kind to Ruth, starts to praise and give thanks. She first asks God to bless Boaz for his kindness. She declares that the Lord has shown kindness and not forsaken the living, that being her and Ruth, and the dead, her husband, and her son's family line. It's no longer threatened, but it's redeemed. This is significant as Naomi's first is thankful to Boaz. The author uses the word whose in an ambiguous way in that you are not sure if he's referring to Boaz or God or both. She then recognizes Ruth. She tells her to stay with Boaz for protection, to remain gleaning in his fields, as his kindness and his provision will remain. Naomi mentions that Ruth may be assaulted in another field that we read in Ruth 2:22. This implies that Ruth's initial kindness of going to glean and find food for Naomi and herself was very risky, and she could have been taken advantage of at the edges of someone else's field. Now Ruth can go to Boaz's field with peace, knowing that not only will she find food, but she will also find protection. Then we go to Ruth chapter 3, and in this context of culture and in the context of Boaz's kindness, Naomi devises a plan for Ruth to meet Boaz on the threshing floor. Up until this point, we can assume that Ruth and Naomi were wearing black clothes because they were mourning. They were widows. They had both lost their husbands. As it was for David in 2 Samuel 12:22, he also wore sackcloth and mourning clothes until it was the right time. Naomi helps Ruth to now look attractive and look like a betrothed woman, like we read in Ezekiel 16. What we must understand is that Ruth was still somehow betrothed to her family line, even though her husband was dead. It is not like most of our cultures where once widowed you are free to marry someone else if you wish. Now we come back to my time in South Sudan, where I lived as a missionary for many years amongst the Lopit people. It is their custom that a close relative continues the family line of his brother. So the father or brother of a person's husband that passes away after the time of mourning would be expected to continue the family line of his brother. Another important point here is that Ruth follows the instructions of her Jewish mother-in-law and does not act according to her own impulsive passions. There is a Jewish custom in Leviticus 25 verse 25 that allows a woman to make a marriage proposal under the Hebrew law of kinsman redeemer. It is on these grounds that Naomi instructs Ruth to do what she does. She asks her to go at night, dressed beautifully and with sweet-smelling aromas, to the threshing floor. Naomi asks her to hide herself, and only once everyone is asleep at the threshing floor to go see where Boaz is lying, and to go while he's asleep and uncover his feet and lie there. This is very intimate. When Boaz wakes up, he is startled, understandably, and Ruth asks him to cover her. She has uncovered him and then asks him to cover her. This is a direct marriage proposal to her kinsman redeemer. Boaz, in his kindness, blesses her. He does not call her a prostitute, as his mother was called, but his desire is to protect her dignity. He tells her to continue to lie down until morning. He doesn't send her out into the night. He protects her. He truthfully tells her that he is not the closest kinsman redeemer, but he promises to do what he can to redeem her. In the morning, before anyone recognizes her, he sends her home, telling her to not let anyone know that she was there. He tells her to hold out her garment and what she is wearing and fills it with 6 measures of barley. Again, he is protecting her and her dignity, as people will see her walking home with barley in the morning, and then they won't ask questions in terms of what is she doing walking around so early in the morning. So, these are reflections on Boaz's kindness and his response to her. Boaz then calls Ruth kind and blesses her. He sees her kindness in what she has been doing over the last days and possibly weeks, looking after her mother-in-law Naomi. That's the first kindness. The second kindness is that she has chosen him, an older man, instead of desiring a younger man. It is interesting that we read that Boaz was a good man, but we don't read about him having a wife or children. We then discover he is an older man. Why had he not married yet? Is it possible that because his mother was a prostitute and from a foreign land, Rahab, that he is not purely Jewish, that perhaps a Jewish father didn't want to give his daughter to Boaz in marriage. This is just a thought. I encourage you to read the questions that are attached to the study. Answer the questions together in your group. May you discover the truths that not only impacted Boaz, Naomi and Ruth's lives, but will impact yours too.